From the East Brunswick Jewish Center, I'm Rabbi Jeff Paivo. You know, the problem with praying from a prayer book in Hebrew is that most American Jews don't understand the language. The problem with praying from a prayer book that has English is that they do, which is to say that a good translation allows us to understand prayer's content. And sometimes what we find is that the content of the ancient prayers that we say represent ideas that we are no longer comfortable with. One illustration is the Sidur's use of the phrase Adonai Tsevaot, the God of war. That's an idea that many people in our time might find uncomfortable, at least. Now, there are two ways of dealing with that I find in modern prayer books in the English side of the page. One is to use an ambiguous translation of the phrase like the Lord of Hosts, in which the word hosts can mean a variety of different things, but it doesn't really help us get to the actual meaning of the words. Another approach is to transliterate the phrase Adonai Tsevaot into the English letters Adonai Tsevaot, thereby eliminating the need entirely to deal with the idea of the God of war, the God of armies. Rather, I think we should try to understand this phrase in context. The ancient Israelites were not the only ones to invoke the name of a national god in battle. All ancient people did that. And of course, in modern times, we know that in battle, many soldiers find comfort in the idea of a protecting God. Although I doubt that they would do what is done in this week's Parsha, which is to call on God to scatter their enemies. In Parshat Behalotecha this week, we have this language. When the ark was about to set out at the front of the battalion in battle, Moses would say, "Advance, my Lord, may your enemies be scattered, and may your foes flee before you." And when the ark stopped, when the battle was over, Moses would say, "Return, O Lord, you who are Israel's myriad of thousands." The ark was at the very front of the battle, and Moses prayed that its power, meaning God's power, would help to vanish any potential foes. Now, in our time, we retain that language in the Torah service. We break those verses in two, and we sing part of them before the Torah is taken out of the ark, and the other part after we put the Torah back, just as the Israelites used the ark in antiquity. And that way we link ourselves both to ancient practices and to the idea about the power of the ark and its contents, Torah. We sing the words that Moses said to the Israelites as they would go into battle. But now we use those words for a very different set of purposes. Instead of asking for God to scatter our enemies in battle, we think of it in different ways. Torah teaches us peace, to gird ourselves against those who would wish us ill. It teaches us distinctive beliefs and practices, to guard against our own assimilation. It teaches us that every Jew was responsible for the other, warning us against senseless bickering among ourselves. The Torah protects us no less than it did the ancient ark protecting our ancestors, but by praying not for the destruction of our enemies, but rather by instructing us in the paths of peace. A Shabbat Shalom from all of us here at the East Brunswick Jewish Center.